Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here for another Energy Matters discussion, conversation. Today, it is truly a profound joy for me to welcome Monza Naff to this circle of amazing beings that are here in this community. Monza has been a friend of mine for, gosh, it's been probably 25 years, something like that. And she is somebody who is just remarkable in every way, a very beloved member of every community that I know of that she's in. She's a poet, and she is a teacher, and she is, I would say, an inspirational being just in her very being. Several years ago, she suffered a stroke and then had a second stroke a few years later. And as a poet, somebody who has had words be the sort of bring the meaning of her life forward and the ways in which she's expressed herself, that has been a very, very challenging journey for her. There are times when she still can't remember words or where she gets a little bit lost. But I wanted to just take a moment to have her read a poem and talk a little bit about anything she wants to talk about regarding energy, because she continues to be an inspiration for me. She actually took Qigong classes with me way back in the day. And I think that, am I right, Monza, in thinking that was kind of a bit of an inspiration for this poem?
Yep.
Yeah. And so she wrote a poem cycle called Exaltation. And what's the subtitle?
Exaltation, a poem cycle in celebration of the seasons.
Exaltation, a poem cycle in celebration of the seasons. And it affirms what it says on the front of the book is that it affirms the particular gifts not only of each season in the year, but also for the recurring cycles in the life of a human spirit. And she asked me at the time to write, bless you. She asked me at the time to write a testimonial for the back, because I found this poem cycle to be so extraordinary. And what I wrote was, the poems of exaltation act as a chauffeur to the soul, calling upon us to remember, to feel, sense, know in our very beings that we are connected through our cycles to all that is alive. Read these words aloud, chant, sing, intone them, and experience a spirit that comforts, quiets, uplifts, and inspires all at the same time. This quartet is a masterpiece. And I truly do believe that it's a masterpiece. And I've asked her today to read her autumn poem, since that's the season that we're currently in. So without further ado, welcome, Monza. I'm so glad that
I'm so glad to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to say one more thing is that when I first met Monza, one of the first things we did together was she read me her poem. And so sit back and enjoy this, because it's not just the words itself, but it's the Monza being coming through her voice that I'd like you to tune into on an energetic level.
Praying for release. Autumn, urge me to drop every leaf I don't need, every task or habit I repeat past its season, every sorrow I rehearse, each unfulfilled hope I recall, every person or possession to which I cling, until my branches are bare, until I hold fast to nothing. Blow me about in your wild iron sky, crush all that's puffed up, fluff all that in me needs to go to seed. Send my shadows to sleep. Tutor me through straining night winds in the passion of moan and pant, the gift of letting go at the moment of most abundance, in the way of falling apples, figs, maple leaves, pecans. Open my eyes to your languid light. Let me stare in your face until I see no difference between soar and fall, until I recognize eternity in single breaths, faint whispers of cool air through lungs. Show me the way of dying in glorious boldness. yellow, gold, orange, rust, red, burgundy, brown.
Thank you so much, Monza.
Mhm.
Yes, this book of yours is not only beautiful poetry, but it's beautifully illustrated as well. Thank you for showing that
Yeah.
image of autumn.
The reason that it has those illustrations is that Kathy Whitteman was a student of mine at the university, and she was an artist. And when I told her about these poems, she said, send them to me. And so I sent them to her just as a present. And she sent back these pieces that were from 5 to 8 feet long. And they were made into the pages. And then her calligraphy teacher calligraphed the writing. And so they put it all together in a book that my publisher wanted to do. So it made it a book.
Well, she's an amazing artist, and it's an absolutely exquisite book. So thank you for telling us about Catherine Whitteman. I wanted to ask you, Mons, you know, this season, as you said more eloquently than I can even say, is really about letting go and releasing. Like you said, praying for release is the title of this particular poem. What would you say for you is, what are you releasing these days? What feels like, you know, on an energetic level, what are you letting go of along with the falling leaves?
I believe there's always a fall going on in me. And one of the reasons I put autumn at the beginning of the seasons is because I think that it's the first one, as far as I'm concerned. Because I think that to start with our skeleton, we have to let go of all the junk we carry around. And so I think this season is a perfect beginning for a year, rather than, you know, often it starts in spring and all that, da, 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 da. And I don't think it does. I think it starts when we're praying for release. When we, pages are, when we need to drop leaves, when we repeat tasks and habits past their season, when we rehearse sorrows, recall unfulfilled hopes, every person, possession to which we cling, all those things that we do over and over and over. And this is something that I am working on. And one of the things this tied to Qigong so vividly for me was that as I was doing the Qigong exercises, I found myself doing that. And as I would do that, I realized that I would work on that always, but most of all in the autumn. Because as I started with you, there was an interesting thing. I took a poetry workshop at Mar de Jada in Mexico. And later, you and Sharon did a retreat at that same place. And I said, where is that we went? And you were kind of, huh? And it was because we weren't there at the same time. I was there with the writers. And one of the things that Judith Barrington, who taught the class, asked all of us to do was to think of something that in our lives became a repetitive kind of form that we practiced and that we had found a deep connection to, that everybody knows, but maybe nobody thinks about quite like you do.
Mhm.
And so what came to me was the thing I had worked on at the Martahata retreat when I had gone down by the ocean and just listened and thought of autumn and and there is a way that the rhythms of all of the four seasons are like the waves crashing, and I just kept carrying myself along that. And I find that when I do that, I can let go of all that stuff I don't need to carry.
That's so beautiful, Monza. I just thank you for saying that. I love the idea of kind of coming back to the bare bones. And of course, and that you think of that as the beginning of the year and as foundational. And of course, that coincides with the Jewish high holidays that we're just
Yeah.
coming out of right now, which is Rosh Hashanah, the new year, moving into the days of awe and finishing with Yom Kippur. And I just, I think that there's something that's so deep here around allowing us to begin from the bare bones as opposed to something else. And when you're talking about releasing, and I think about what you've had to release in terms of your access to easy access to words. I think you still access words, but that sense that your brain is it's rewired so that you're able to speak, but that it's not the same kind of easy flow for you, that there's a letting go of that easy flow, but then there's a deepening in terms of what does it mean to truly let go, that there's a ways in which you've had to really integrate what that meaning is. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely.
Mm.
I think I've lived this poem more in the last 4 years than I ever have known it, because I had any word I needed at the ready.
Yeah.
And it took two women 2 years every week meeting with them in a book about that big for me to get just the words. When I first went in there, I couldn't say nose or eyebrow or ear, hair. I didn't know what any of those words were, let alone what their name was and my name was. And from one week to another, it wasn't there.
I think you may, for people who don't know, Monza's partner, her wife is Sharon Strand Ellison, who's the creator of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication. And I think that you had a hard time remembering Sharon's name as well. Isn't that true?
It was one of the worst moments of my life,
Yeah.
because I wanted to call her in because I couldn't remember. And I just kept saying, come here, please.
Yeah.
Please
And
come. And I was crying, and I said, what's your name? And
yeah.
she realized that it was really painful that I couldn't remember it. I was looking everywhere for her name and couldn't get it. And so I had a lot to come back from.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I know that Sharon worked with you diligently, daily, hourly to help you get your language back. I mean,
yes,
she is such a
she's,
skilled communicator. And then
she's absolutely been essential to my healing.
Mhm.
Um, she has arranged for a lot of people in deepening to also a thing that we do in powerful non-defensive communication, that they have worked with me, and so then she works with me some more, and she taught me my uh, colors of the rainbow.
Mhm.
uh,
She was very
numbers,
creative, I think, during this whole process
everything.
of you reclaiming who you are. She's been very creative and very just so disciplined around and really keeping you focused and really believing that you could recapture language again. I think that it's been an amazing thing to watch from where you were. And I just can only imagine, I can't even really imagine what that journey has been for you to go from being so easy with words to having to remember and to teach yourself to remember, have Sharon and other helpers help you remember basic words. When you think about I mean, I know we've worked some on storytelling too, and when you think about when you don't have the words, what gives you strength? What is it that you draw upon that gives you strength to be able to stay with the effort that it takes to communicate? What is it that you draw on? Because I'm really thinking about the energy that you have, that you've cultivated.
I have Sharon's face in my mind. I have Brittany's face in my mind.
Mm.
And those people just come to me and I talk to them. And they talk back. And Sharon has given me a way to look all around for the word I'm trying to find. I taught Shakespeare for 25 years. I knew Shakespeare. I didn't think about the fact that he was in a place about the size of a quarter on the inside of my half of my brain, and that it would go because it was gotten in my first stroke. And to not know about 15 of the sonnets by heart, to not know portions of each play that I had taught by heart, not know, to not remember the dates, not any of them. I still don't remember birthdays and stuff like that. I can't keep them in my mind.
Yeah.
That was for somebody who knew every telephone number she had ever had. That was a really hard thing. One of my friends.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I just was thinking that one of the things that you said that I just found so moving is that when you felt like you needed to draw on energetic strength, Sharon's face came to your mind, and then
Yes.
Brittany, who was another one of your helpers, but that you went to who you love.
Yes.
And that's part of what gave you the strength to stay with it.
Absolutely. And I still have the people I love in all their pictures are all on there. And that keeps me remembering who they are and why I can do it. I still have, in just about every conversation, I'll be thinking about the conversation, what I want to say, and I'll just miss a word. And it's not just don't come back. It's go through all those little things and sometimes get part of it and sometimes say that and say it's a word like, but it starts with something. And often the person I'm talking with will say back, oh, you're thinking of, that is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And to be okay with that.
Yes, to let go of the fact that you have to do it all yourself, but that you're actually receiving help.
Yes.
And that's a letting go also of a piece of identity, right?
Oh, heavens, yes. I mean, to not know some of the words I don't know is just bizarre. And then to have to ask help of anybody, a clerk in a store, a service station employee, of whatever. I have to get help, and I ask for help. I tell them that I've had 2 strokes and 7 TIAs in addition to that. And I don't know where all the language got lost, but it has.
So we're just about out of time, Mons. Is there anything that you want people to know that feels like it would help others who might have experienced a stroke themselves, or who are reclaiming something that they've letting go of, have had to let go of, or anything that any final message that you would have for people?
I would just say never give up. Never. don't go back.
Mm.
Try it again, because you don't know when you're going to have it come back to you. And that one thing coming back proves to you that something can come back.
Mm.
And then something else can, and something else can, and something else can.
Yes. Thank you so much, Monza, for taking time to talk to us today. I know that that your health has been compromised in many ways over the last several years, and the fact that you mustered to come onto this program today means a lot. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.